It is Sunday, November 30th, 2025. And if you are waking up in the southeast or anywhere across our great nation, you are likely feeling a mix of confusion, anger, and perhaps a tiny, fragile thread of hope. Because the headline you saw this morning is not just a promise of a miracle, it is a breakdown of a strategic roadmap that has been confirmed by the highest political office holders in the region. We are mapping out all the ways Mazi Nnamdi Kanu can physically walk out of that maximum security cell in Sokoto and return home. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments as we dissect this master plan. The headline, Nnamdi Kanu coming home, here is how the Biafran leader can come home, sounds impossible to the average person who just watched him get sentenced to life imprisonment 10 days ago. But today we are going to connect the dots that the mainstream media is afraid to touch, revealing the Otti strategy, the constitutional pardon, and the diplomatic pressure that have all aligned to create a narrow but viable path to freedom. To understand how he comes home, you first have to understand why he was sent to prison in the first place. Because for months, legal experts and political insiders have whispered that the federal government could not release Nnamdi Kanu while he was awaiting trial, since it would make the state look weak and legally incompetent. They needed a conviction. They needed the label of terrorist to be stuck on him legally so that any release would be an act of mercy from a benevolent father, not a concession of defeat to an agitator. Governor Alex Otti of Abia State confirmed this theory just days ago when he revealed that agreements were made which were dependent on the quick dispensation of the court case, meaning the life sentence was actually the first and most critical step of the how. By sentencing him on November 20th, the court has ironically removed the biggest obstacle to his release, which was the endless trial. And now that he is a convict, the file moves from the judiciary to the executive, where the president has the power to act without interfering with the courts, turning the lock of the life sentence into the key to the pardon. The second phase of this roadmap is the activation of the political machinery that Governor Otti spoke about, which isn't just about begging, but about a structured deal that involves the highest authorities he has been engaging with since December 2023. This deal likely involves the invocation of Section 175 of the 1999 Constitution, which gives the president the absolute power of the prerogative of mercy, allowing him to grant a pardon to any person concerned with or convicted of any offense. We have seen this happen before in our history when President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua granted amnesty to the Niger Delta militants who had shut down the economy, and when President Shehu Shagari pardoned Odumegwu Ojukwu after the civil war. The precedent is there, and the argument being made by the Southeast Caucus of the House of Representatives is that the peace of the region is more important than the punishment of one man. However, this path to freedom is not without its thorns, because the third part of the how involves the controversial conditions that were highlighted by Sheikh Gumi earlier this week. The condition for the pardon is likely remorse and the renunciation of violence. This is where the visit of Bishop Ikechukwu Egbonu becomes the most important piece of the puzzle, because he confirmed that Kanu has already written a letter to Simon Ekpa in Finland telling him to stop the violence. This letter is the proof of compliance the government needs to sign the release papers. It allows the president to say he has denounced the violence, so I am releasing him to heal the nation. If Kanu continues to publicly disavow the autopilot faction's violence, he gives the federal government the political cover they need to let him go without losing face. If you are finding this breakdown of the secret roadmap to freedom insightful, and you want to be the first to know when the pardon is signed, please take a second right now to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel, because we track every move in this high-stakes chess game. We also have to consider the Sokoto factor as a major catalyst for his release, because by moving him to a region currently terrorized by the Lakurawa group, the government has taken a massive gamble with his safety. Security experts argue that the government cannot afford for Nnamdi Kanu to be harmed or killed in their custody in the northwest, because it would spark an uncontrollable crisis in the southeast. Therefore, the danger of Sokoto actually creates a pressure cooker that forces the government to accelerate his release or at least move him to house arrest under the care of a heavyweight guarantor like Obi Kubana or Governor Otti to ensure his safety and de-escalate detention. Finally, there is the 2027 option, which is the fallback plan if the immediate pardons fails. As Peter Obi stated, the current leadership has failed to manage the agitation, and the belief on the streets is that if Tinubu refuses to sign the pardon, the freedom of Nnamdi Kanu will become the single biggest campaign issue for the 2027 election. The how in this scenario involves the Igbo people using their votes to elect a leader who has promised a political solution, making Kanu's freedom a democratic mandate rather than a presidential favor. So, whether it happens through an immediate presidential pardon triggered by the Otti deal, a release due to the Sokoto security risk, or a future political shift, the path to freedom is clearer today than it was before the judgment. What do you think? Is the government using the life sentence as a setup for a pardon, or are they planning to keep him in Sokoto forever? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.